Okay. Last but not least, the UEFA Conference League, right? So, okay, fine. Look, Eintracht, Frankfurt, Ajax, as well as Ferenc Varos, are among the big European names with work to do in the second leg. If they are able to make it through to the UEFA Europa Conference League knockout play round playoffs, right? So what actually is actually transpiring, right, is that there are 16 teams involved in the Europa Conference League knockout round playoffs, right? So the 8 runners up from the Europa Conference League group stages, and the 8 third best placed teams from the UEFA Europa League group stages, right? So ties are played over 2 legs and will conclude on Thursday, the 22nd of February. The away goals rule has been abolished. The 8 playoff winners, join the 8 group winners in the round of 16 draw on Friday, 23 February, and the 8 playoff losers will no longer be involved in the 2023-2024 European competition. So the first game that's on our radar, which will be taking place on Wednesday, the 21st of February, will be between Belgian Giants, Gent, taking on Israeli Giants, Maccabi Haifa. So the Israelites are heading to this encounter with a 1-0 advantage. So look, no matter what the situation is, there's always like passion and a desire to win. As for Maccabi Haifa, they won their first leg, against Gent, at home, and it was a frenzy, Parrot's goal that actually in Budapest has given the Israeli side something to actually defend in Belgium, and given that their last 2 European away games ended in a 0-0 draw at Villarreal, as well as a 2-1 victory at Panathinaikos, they have reason for optimism, right? So Gent, have made a miserable start to 2024. The loss against Maccabi Haifa was their sixth, in 7 games since, returning from the winter break. Although their head coach, Hein van Hazen, Brook, is actually standing firm, because you look at the fact that they still have to carry on, and they cannot complain, but, they just need to work hard and improve, right? Because they'll be having home advantage, and it's just a 1-0 deficit. So they can actually, if only. Remember, they won all 6 of their European home games this season. So, by margins of at least 2 goals. So there's actually plenty of optimism. There's plenty of hope for the home side, Gent. So remember, Gent won 2-0 at home against Maccabi Tel Aviv, in the season's group stage. Their first home, victory against an Israeli side, right? So the second game that we are actually going to be looking forward to is on Thursday, the 22nd of February. Bulgarian champions Ludogorets taking on Servette, right? So the Bulgarian champions, were diligent and disciplined as they held on for a 0-0 draw, in the first leg in Geneva, and won all 3 of their last group home games without conceding. So ahead of the first leg, Ludogorets, their concern was actually the ability to actually, exploit the weakness of their opponents, and they will be eager for complacency, not to be his side's undoing at home. But the good news for them, right, is that they have forced them to actually retreat in the second half. So Ludogorets, actually have they've got a great, home record. They're actually skillful and experienced. So perhaps they can actually work in their favor if they are actually, to advance into the next round. And remember, Servette, lost both of their, previous games in Bulgaria without scoring. Losing 3-0, at Slavia Sofia in 1967 and 1-0 at CSK Sofia in 1998. So they don't have a good record, on their travels to Bulgaria, right? And the next game that we can look forward to is Dinamo Zagreb taking on Real Betis. And the Croatian champions, rode their luck at times in Seville, but emerged with their first ever victory on Spanish soil thanks to Bruno Petkovic's second half penalty. So that was a great victory for them, and it has actually given them a massive morale booster going into the second leg at home, right? Remember, Dinamo have played at European level for many years, and, their players have got every right to actually believe that, that can actually be a big lift for them. As for Betis, it was actually a bad day at the Estadio Benito Villamarin, but actually the team, created enough opportunities in the first leg, to actually suggest that they can cause, Dinamo problems in the Croatian capital, because, efforts from Nabil Fekir, a shot against the post from William Jose, and as well as another from Johnny Cardoso at the end. It was actually a shame that they couldn't find the back of the nets, but they need to keep their heads up for the second leg, because remember, Dinamo's first leg victory was their first ever win against Spanish opposition in a UEFA competition. Remember, they've won only once and they've actually lost 7. They've never even drawn a game against Spanish opposition. So the next game, that is basically on our radar, is the one between Bodo Glimt, against Ajax Amsterdam. So remember, the home side, star striker, Amal Pellegrino to San Jose Earthquakes over the winter. But, they looked very lively at Ajax, taking a 2-0 lead through Albert, Gronbaek goals before a red card, a Branko van den Brumen penalty, and a Steven Berghuis lob, all in the second half at a time, denied them a famous victory in Amsterdam. So, Ajax is a team that has actually risen from the dead. They haven't been at their best this season. Hopefully the signing of Jordan Henderson will actually help them, will actually give them a massive booster going forward. But it's just a matter of how far they can go, right? And another thing to say is that, it comes with somewhat mixed feelings. Remember continental heavyweights Roma, Yeah, so, and another thing that should be worth noting is the fact that continental heavyweights such as AS Roma, Celtic, as well as Besiktas, they've all lost, UEFA away games, to Bodo Glimt, right? Alongside Ajax Eredivisie rivals, AS Alkmaar, you understand? So, yeah, man, you just cannot underestimate anybody when it comes to the UEFA, Europa Conference League, right? Especially when it comes to UEFA knockout competition, you can never underestimate any opponent. So let us discuss the fact that which teams are actually through to the last 16, right? We know that Aston Villa obviously through, Club Brugge obviously through, Fenerbahce obviously through, Fiorentina, Lille, Maccabi Tel Aviv, as well as Polk and Victoria Pleasant, right? So those are some of the teams that I've mentioned that are actually through to the next round already. And the other encounter that we can look forward to is, Slovan Bratislava, as well as Sturm Graz. So the away side already, they've got a 4-1. Advantage coming into this clash, away from home. And another thing is that, you should actually note that the fact that Sturm are in complete control of this tie after establishing a 3-goal advantage at home. Mika Bereth early outside of the boot, finish was quickly cancelled out by, Jason Rodriguez in an end-to-end, start at the Stadion Gras Libenu. But after, John Stankovic's firm header, the Austrian hosts were in control. Ota Kechevili emphatically, converted a penalty before Amadi Kamara, made sure that Sturm took full advantage of Vladimir Weiss's 78th minute red card by adding another in the final minutes. So basically, Sturm boss, Christian Ilza, had confidently set his sights on progression before the first leg, and we will know if his side, just need to defend resolutely to actually achieve that goal, across the border. And Sturm were without victory in 5 European home games before their first leg triumph. So, it's actually very interesting, right? Very interesting to note. And remember, 2022 Europa League winners, Frankfurt, right? So they surrendered an early 2-goal lead in Brussels, but they will still fancy their chances of actually progressing in front of their home supporters, right? So the Eagles have prevailed in 4 of their last 5 two-legged European ties, losing only to Napoli in last season's UEFA Champions League round of 16. If they do end up getting the better of Union SG, they will have reached, the last 16 of the UEFA club competition for the third, campaign in a row, right? So Alexander Blessin's, team, however, came into this game with momentum on their side after a stirring first leg fight back, so which actually he was actually pleased with their performance in the second half, and it's actually amazing how they actually fought back, and they can actually take that immense level of positivity into the second leg, and looking forward to playing in front of a full capacity crowd in Frankfurt, and it's actually going to be an exciting atmosphere for both these clubs. So remember, Union SG have yet to lose in Germany in a UEFA competition. They've actually won once and they've drawn twice. So their only competitive defeat was a 1-0 defeat at Leipzig in a non-UEFA affiliated FES Cup in 1959. So basically there is a record to protect right there for the away side. And another one is Ferencvaros, taking on Olympiacos. So the Greek side do have an advantage, and they're unbeaten in 6 European home games this season. They've won 4, they've actually drawn twice. So Friday have cause for confidence as they gear up for their second leg. So a 12-game unbeaten European run came to an end in the first leg, in Greece, but Dejan Stankovic was pleased with his side's determined performance. They showed so much bravery, and they have the second half of this tie, in their stadium. So, their ambitions in this competition remain the same. They are a big club, and they will fight till the end, to actually win this competition, right? So remember, Ferencvaros, won 3-1 in their only previous home game against Olympiacos in the first round, of the 1996-1997 UEFA Cup, right? So, yeah, there are records to be protected, in this particular, tournament, right? And another one is that, we look forward to Legia taking on Molde. So remember, Molde, became a force, on home turf in Europe in recent seasons, but the Norwegian side, have actually struggled on their travels, right? Managing just only 4 wins in 15 outings. So Warsaw is not actually an obvious place to begin, putting that, right, because Legia, have won 3 out of the, last 3 games, in the group stages, with English, high flyers Aston Villa among those who came and failed to conquer. And Erling Moe, his charges were irresistible for 45 minutes of the first leg. Though 2 goals from Frederick Goldbranson, as well as another for Marcus Andre Guasa, put them 3-0, and a few would argue that they merited it, so then fatigue was actually the main reason that, sitting, in what was their first outing, in 2 months, and Legia, fought back, into that encounter. So, it's just a matter of if Molde can actually sustain their charge for a longer second time around. And remember, Molde, have actually scored in 11 of their last 12 matches in a UEFA club competition. So the stakes are very high in this season's UEFA, Europa Conference League round of 16 clashes. So, look, remember the 2023-2024 UEFA Europa League Conference League season is set to conclude at the AEK Arena in Athens, Greece, on Wednesday, the 29th of May, 2024. Remember that stadium opened in September 2022, which was the new stadium, that stands on the site of Nikos Guma Stadium, which had been home to AEK Athens, since 1930, but sustained, serious damage during an earthquake in 1999. So with a capacity of over 30,000, the new stadium in the northwestern suburb of near Philadelphia, stages Greece international home games as well as AEK matches. So that will be actually the stadium that will host this year's UEFA Europa Conference League final.